Good morning. Welcome back to the Namaste Experience. It is Tuesday here at Namaste Village. Welcome to all of you. We have such a full crowd everywhere. I am just so grateful for all of the amazing mighty companions who are streaming in, feeling the call, feeling the draw, being pulled into this vortex of holiness and grace. It is such a gift. And I am so blessed. We are all so blessed, aren't we?
Yes.
Yes. We are living in the yes here in Mexico. Even though it's kind of chilly, that's okay. I always remind people, wherever you come from, up in, North America, it's probably a lot colder. Those of you who are actually in that are shaking, you're nodding your head. Yes, it's colder. How are things there in Boston, Vicky? Are things... Looks like you have one of your Christmas winter sweaters on. I love it. All right. All right. I have a question for all of you. How many of you are willing to be a fool in the eyes of the world in order to enter more fully into this moment of grace? How many? Raise your hand if you're willing to be a fool. Okay, I'm glad to hear that. I've always been attracted to fools for God. That's probably one of the reasons why I was attracted to St. Francis when I was very young. He was such a fool in the eyes of the world, and yet it is through such fools that we realize the logic of the world and the folly of the world is completely the opposite to the wisdom of God. And we have to be foolish in this world that we've created in order to break free into that manifestation of holiness and grace. Okay, so we're going to talk about that today, and I'm going to go ahead and put up on screen a little something that we will use to illustrate this. It begins with the question, if you're not, or the statement rather, if you're not willing to be a fool, you probably already are one. If you're not willing to be a fool, you probably already are. All right. The fool for God knows that it does not know, that they do not know. And that's why they possess the highest wisdom. A fool is humble. And that's why they see everything that really exists as opposed to that which could never exist. Love that. A fool is humble. They realize they do not know. They fall back into a greater, higher knowingness. And that is why they see everything that really exists as opposed to that which could never exist. That's what we constantly look upon in the world of form. Separation, disease, all of those things that we are conditioned to believe this is just the way, this is just how things are. We are born, we grow old, we get sick, and we die. Welcome to the world. And yet, we have examples, in particular Jesus, who prove that death is not what you think it is. Death, it does not hold you as you believe. I'm going to demonstrate that for you, but I'm only going to demonstrate it for you. I'm not going to claim it wholly and completely for myself. Far greater things will you do if you accept this, if you become a fool in the eyes of the world. There is a difference between being a fool for heaven's sake and being foolish. A fool for God laughs at the foolishness of the world, and in doing so, rises above it. A foolish person, or the one who considers themselves wise in the way of the world, constantly tries to make the world work for them, to move the pieces of perception around, to create what they believe to be a better world. Hopefully, if I just keep moving the pieces around the Titanic, this ship won't sink. The fool for God never does this. They're too occupied with laughing at the laughable and loving that which is forever loved. That's what a fool for God does. And in every tradition, every spiritual tradition, we have examples of this. We have those who appear to be complete idiots or fools, or to go totally against the grain. This has been true from the ancient times to the modern times. The ancient Greeks, the ancient Romans, the Christians, the Jewish nations, Muslim, every religion has examples of the holy fool. But for us, there's often that fear, like, what if I go against the grain? What if I appear to be different? Will I be stoned? Will I be ridiculed? Maybe you'll be ridiculed. The greatest fools in the history of every tradition have been ridiculed until finally people saw something in them and realized something through them that was so satisfying, so attractive and seductive. Of course, I keep going back to St. Francis in this. St. Francis was certainly one who at the beginning appeared to be the biggest fool in all of Europe. He gave everything away. In other words, he decided to see if it was possible to actually do what Jesus said. What a foolish idea to actually try and live this. Oh, come on. You know what they were saying at that time? They were saying 800 years ago, oh, come on. That was 1,200 years ago that Jesus did that. We can't do it now. That was 1,200 years ago. Guess what they say today when someone tries to really live it? Oh, come on, that was 2,000 years ago. You can't do it now. And I say, why not? Why can't we live this radically? I know that those of you who are living here at Namaste, and many of the rest of you on Zoom, you have chosen to live this radically. Those of you who are living here, you gave up so much and simplified your life. You minimized everything in order to be in a new expression of holiness and grace, to live in a community of people who are as dedicated as you are. And guess what happened? I look out and I just see happy smiles. And we notice that everything we need is given to us effortlessly and beautifully. A is going to always provide us with the perfect meals, like she did this morning. We're going to always have Abel and Augustine and Chewy and Adine, who are beautiful assistants in this amazing transformation. And it gives us the opportunity to really go deep, not to waste this opportunity. Don't give everything up and then just come here and say, well, I guess I'm just going to be lazy now. Come here with a single intention to transform, to realize the truth of who you are. Okay, that last line. They're too occupied with laughing at the laughable and loving that which is forever lovable. That's the holy fool. Okay, one more bit. If you want to be this kind of fool, you'll have to confront your need to be comfortable and right. Ooh, that might be asking too much, don't you think? To confront your need to be comfortable. Ooh, we wake up in the morning, it's like, my gosh, it's actually like 45 degrees. It's actually chilly. It's laughable, isn't it? Like, put a jacket on, you'll be fine. It's not even cold, but the idea that we would be comfortable or uncomfortable, or that we would have to choose to not be right, but to be happy instead. I remember once when I was young, I made the mistake of throwing Course in Miracles lines at my daughter when she was around 13 or 14. And I'd say, come on, Angela, would you rather be right or happy? And she said, duh, I want both. Any answer that starts out with duh, you're very afraid of. And that's what the ego says. I want both. I want to be right and I want to be happy. But the Holy Spirit says, if you want to truly be happy, give up the need to be right. Because the thing is, every time you think you're right, you're probably way off. But if you just relax and choose to not know, as it says here in the very beginning, the fool for God knows that They do not know. If you just let that be okay, in fact, not only let that be okay, but let that be a triumph. I don't know and I don't need to know, because my only choice is to be happy within the grace of this moment and to join with my brothers and my sisters who are all around me. Whether we're living here at Namaste Village or whether we're in Quincy, Massachusetts, or wherever we are here to join those brothers and sisters who are, whether they're consciously making this choice or not, they are making the choice, because that's what we're always being drawn back to our source. We're drawn always immediately back to the source of love. Even if we deny and resist that pull, it is there. It is like the current of a river. We can hold on for dear life to a tree branch, but that current is going to pull you in at one point or another. So you may as well just give in. Okay, once again, if you want to be this kind of fool for God, you'll have to confront your need to be comfortable and right. A fool for God welcomes discomfort and realizes that they can't solve the problems of the world with the very same problems that created the world. You can't solve the problems of the world with the very same problems that created the world. Does that make sense? Yeah. We've heard this before in different ways. You can't solve a problem with the same mindset that created the problem. You have to step outside the problem and ask for something new. And it's the same thing with this polarized world. We need to seek something that is beyond the illusions that we create, to hide from the real solution, because the real solution is always right in front of you. Love. Love everyone no matter what. That's the only solution we need. Okay. A fool for God welcomes discomfort and realizes that they can't solve the problems of the world with the very same problems that created the world, or we could just say perception. This one lets the impossible remain impossible and doesn't try to change anything. The fool for God exists beyond change in the changeless universe where love has no opposite, and foolishness is known to be the highest wisdom. Where this kind of foolishness is not foolishness at all, but the highest wisdom. It's only foolish in those who are holding onto that branch, being dragged along the bottom of the river, trying to resist the current. How many of you have ever read the book Jonathan Livingston Siegel? Okay. Do you remember that story of how this one seagull just wanted to fly higher and dive, and all of the other seagulls told him, you can't do that. But it knew, somewhere inside, it knew that it not only could, but that it's in its nature. And it's in your nature to fly. It's in your nature to be free, because that is how God created you. And the constraints and the chains that you wrap around yourself will only hold you for so long. They're going to rust and fall away at some point. You may as well choose that now. You wouldn't be here either sitting in front of me or sitting in front of me if you weren't ready to do that now. To let those chains of perception fall away and step into love. So, Victoria, you can probably just tell as I begin to, weave my way towards you, that this is yours now. Let's hear the voice of practicality.
All right, here we go. This is a great setup for what I got up with this morning. But first of all, it's what's changeless that looks like change in form. What's changeless is God's will, that we are created as his loving, beautiful, great, holy child, the Christ, the divinity in us, that we are one with him, that we are and have and give everything. That's changeless. But in time, because time is a little upside down, being the denial of this changeless will of God, that we are happy and holy and one, it shows up as change. It shows up as things all of a sudden disappearing and breaking down. So with our mind on the changeless, God's will for me is perfect happiness. God's will for me is that I'm one with Him in everything. With holding on to only that, every bit of change shows up as, okay, I don't know, maybe it's a redirection, because now I'm being redirected in a more awakened way to that one changeless reality. That's all. It shows up as change. So you laugh at the particulars of form. You don't laugh at it. It's more of a gentle smile, knowing none of it holds us. There are no limits. The lower laws, the vibration of time and space, is a lower frequency set realm. It's a realm of being. But it doesn't hold us when we're under the higher law of love and God's will as our oneness. And when we put ourselves, I commend my spirit into your hands, Father. When we do that, we're under the higher law of love. So we look gently on time and on all of the situations that come and go, knowing that they are also a way of redirecting us back to what doesn't change, God's will for us. God is our very being. But I had to say this today. So you probably, and everybody here probably knew, but I just found out today, that your dear, now your brother in Christ, the Anglican Archbishop, Desmond Tutu, went home the day after Christmas. I didn't know that. He made his transition. But the legacy that Desmond Tutu has left in time, as well as his present being with us in spirit, was his laughter. Years ago, in the middle of apartheid, he would come down into the pulpit, into the church, and be laughing and dancing. One of the last things he did was with the Dalai Lama on the joy of being, on how to be joyful in what looks like challenging situations. And that laughter was their way of life. And together they're joining to offer that to the world, one of the best examples. And now in your own heritage, in your line of brotherhood, this blessed brother knew the changelessness of our souls as God's place, as what we are, as present happiness, and that the only way to access it was to be present and to be in that gratitude and that natural gratefulness that what is changeless is our only reality. Of course, we can look lightly on everything else and really laugh at it and take the redirection. So what is the redirection of greater happiness? Thank you.
Thank you, Vicky. I remember once I was in Cape Town and I was carrying around this stole for like a priest or a bishop or a cleric that had been blessed by so many people. And I was with a friend and we knocked on this particular door. The door opens and this older Black man with just a white t-shirt opens up the door, and it's Desmond Tutu. And he just starts laughing and laughing as we put this stole around his neck. We chatted for a while. And I just love the fact that he just shows up. He's not wearing purple and a big hat. He's just wearing an old white t-shirt. And I just thought that was perfect. Talk about wonderful and ordinary. And there was something else I was going to share around that, but it's gone. So Teddy, good morning to you. What do you want to share?
Well, I was just thinking about when you were talking, I've always been considered a fool for taking A Course in Miracles literally. Like, he doesn't really mean that, but he really does mean that. So I was just going back through the times when people thought I was crazy. I mean, one of the times was the fact that, we printed up the course and gave it away freely. And people said, that's crazy, that's crazy. Well, when I look at Amazon and I check Course in Miracles books, the sparklies that I gave away go for anywhere between $80 and $130. And it's not that they're going for that money, but it's just a sign that I did the right thing. That's all. Because, I don't know what to do here at all. So I just follow the guidance that's given me. Because how can you know in this situation, in this world, what's the right thing to do when there's so much going on at any one time and you can't really figure it out? So I just listen to the guidance, and the guidance is oftentimes not what people would think. I think of another time when we sold when they sold the academy in Australia. They called me up and they offered me a considerable amount of money from the proceeds because we made a bunch of money. And I just said, no, I don't want it. And they couldn't believe it. I mean, they just couldn't believe that I was unwilling to take the money. And it's just those kind of things. And I'm grateful because I can laugh at them. It's just it's just really interesting how it is true. To the world, many people look foolish. But in truth, they're following the way it's meant to be. And like you're talking about, St. Francis, he looked like he was a crazy person. And yet, around the world, people began to heed his word because there was something to it and something to him that was based on him doing what he was doing.
There's one other thing I realized. When we follow the changeless, the light, the love of God that we are, we emanate a strength because we're under the strength of our Father's love. And that's what's attractive. That's what brothers around feel. They feel safe with us. And that's the greatest gift we can offer anyone because we cannot make a choice for our brother. We can make the choice ourselves and demonstrate the safety of it by not being frightened by what looks like such crazy things here in time. And so that changeless reality, if we follow that, let the changes come and go. And be that we become anchorites, literally, wherever we are, anchorites of joy and safety. And that's the greatest gift. And in time right now, it's very helpful, just the most precious gift we can give every brother.
Yeah, thank you. We're each called not only to be anchorites, but anchor lights. We're here to anchor the light, to take it and to bring it into actual experience. And I'm realizing as we're talking that the fool for God is simply the one who says, I'm pretty sure he really meant what he said.
Exactly.
Pretty sure he did that literally.
Exactly.
Instead of trying to compromise and find the parts that aren't quite comfortable and say, well, I'm pretty sure that part we're supposed to, interpret in some way. No, especially the parts that may at the beginning feel uncomfortable. Those are the very parts that are so liberating and so delicious when you enter in. Simplicity, to minimize all the things that we don't need. Talk about minimizing. St. Francis, when he finally had the opportunity, he minimized by stripping naked in front of the whole town and saying, I now take my Father. From now on, I will say only our Father who art in heaven. And then he walked out, with his, naked body right there in front of everybody. And as foolish as that seemed to everyone, by the time he died, only a couple of decades later, a quarter of Europe were Franciscans. A quarter of the whole continent had become either friars, nuns, or lay Franciscans. That's how impactful and how seductive one who is taking this message of love literally can be. It sparks the same within everyone. That's why today, as much as ever, maybe more than ever, we need people who are radical with this message, radical with love, fools for love, because we say, no, I'm pretty sure he meant that. Pretty sure. Anyway, I'm sticking with that. Teddy and Vicky, any final comments? I'm kind of feeling Alice's presence. Is Alice here? I'm going to look out and see. I didn't notice if Alice was here or not, but Alice, if you are, oh, I see Jet is here. Oh, hi, Jet. Hi, Alice. There you are. Would you like to say anything? I'm just feeling your presence here. Are you muted? There we
Hello.
go.
I was thinking about the movie, of course, Brother, Sun, and Sister Moon, when you were talking about Saint Francis stripping naked. And one of the things I thought you were going to say, but you didn't about that, was who comes and puts the cloth, the coat on him, but the very bishop. So there he is, completely naked, and he's got the most expensive thing wrapped around him by somebody who's ashamed. And I just, that's my favorite movie of all times as well. It really is, and the music of it. And what you were saying about the simplicity of the fool. You know, I know, because I feel it, that Jesus laughed a lot. Jesus laughed a lot. And you know, it's not talked about in the Bible. Oh, you can imagine him around a campfire with his lovely disciples, making jokes, and yet there'd be holy jokes. And can you imagine them all laughing? And what do you think he said in the Course of Miracles? What were the exact words, Teddy? When the Holy Son of God forgot to laugh? What were the exact words?
Yeah.
Into the mind of the Son of God crept the tiny mad idea at which he remembered not to laugh. And
Remember not to laugh. That's so funny.
So that's another thing I've been thinking about. I
Yeah,
knew
no
that
problem.
I can't remember the exact words. Thank you so much, Teddy. You know, and so the Holy Fool, Saint Francis, Jesus, Father James Twyman. And you know it too, don't you? You always have been, and that's why you can go out into places that are most people could never go to. You know, like the war zones and whatnot. Here I am, I'm the sacred fool, and the sacred fool is always protected, always protected. Can you imagine the amount of angels around the sacred fool? And they're tickling him, and they're tickling everybody else around them. You know, it's just so lovely. So you're at the beginning of this when you said, who's ready to be a fool? Okay. Who's ready to be a fool for God? Who's ready to be the sacred fool? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Thank you. We're all ready. Now we just need to do it. We need to step in. I'm actually reading a book right now called Brother Juniper. And Brother Juniper was one of Francis's early brothers, and he took foolishness to a whole new level. Oh my goodness, that guy, he was incredible. And they just all thought, oh, that's just Brother Juniper. He just kind of, but Francis once said to him, if I only had a forest filled with junipers. If I had that, we would rock this world. Thank you, Alice. Thank you, Vicky. Thank you, Teddy. Thanks to all of you for being willing to listen to this message, this simple message of holy foolery, and how exquisite it can be to just let go of the constraints and the restraints of this world that we think we're bound to, and say, no, I'm going to take this literally. I'm going to step in with both feet, and I'm going to live this, not just talk about it. I'm going to live this. That's the best thing that we could possibly do today. So thank you. Thanks to all of you. What a blessed way to begin our day. So why don't we go ahead now and we will begin, or we'll end rather, with the prayer of protection, because we know that every fool is completely protected by grace. Here we go. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Amen.
Happy
Amen.
Tuesday.
Have a beautiful day,
Yes.
everyone. We love you.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Yep, love you.
Thank you,
Love you
Jane.
again.